What if the world you're living in is missing a piece of its soul? Imagine a world long forgotten, one that existed before Atlantis, before the history you were taught in school. It wasn't just a lost continent, it was a lost consciousness, a civilization that didn't chase empires or conquer lands. Instead, they built energy, they didn't wage wars, they healed. Their power didn't come from dominance, but from living in perfect alignment with Earth, Spirit, and the stars. A peaceful society, untouched by the struggles of modernity. But what happened to them? Why are we not taught about this civilization? Why have they been erased from mainstream history? Mainstream historians call it a myth. But across the globe, cultures from Polynesian navigators to Tamil mystics still whisper its name. Lemuria, a world lost, not only to the ocean but to time itself. Why does it still resonate with you? Lemuria wasn't just land, it was a living consciousness, a thriving frequency stretching across the Pacific Ocean. Hawaii, Easter Island, Fiji, parts of India, and even the west coast of the Americas, all were connected in this land of divine harmony. But Lemuria wasn't just a place, it was a way of being, a dimension where humanity hadn't yet fractured into ego or control, where the human connection to the earth wasn't tainted by the separations we experience today. They lived by intuition, not intellect. They didn't fear the unknown, they embraced it. The Lemurians didn't concern themselves with conquest. Their purpose was communion, with the earth, with each other, and with the universe. They didn't see trees as resources to be cut down. They saw them as sacred. Waters weren't polluted. They were sung to. And communication wasn't just with words. It was a language of intention, vibration and telepathy. A language that spoke directly to the heart. A truth felt, not proven. You might think that sounds too far-fetched, but when you feel the pull of the ocean waves, the vibrations of the earth beneath your feet, or that ache deep within when you witness the destruction of nature, that's not just a fleeting feeling, it's an echo, an ancient memory stirring inside of you. What if everything we've been told about human history is wrong? What if humanity hasn't always been driven by war and division? What if we were once united, living in harmony, and that harmony is still within us, waiting to be remembered? This isn't just some fanciful New Age fantasy, it's a deep soul memory, the pull you feel, the sense that something's missing, that longing for something beyond this chaotic world. It's not random, it's not a product of your imagination, it's ancient wisdom encoded in your very being. Cultures from across the world, from Hinduism to Aboriginal traditions, from Polynesian to Native American wisdom, all speak of a land once thriving, that was swallowed by the ocean. Unlike the story of Atlantis, Lemuria's fall wasn't about punishment. It wasn't a story of arrogance and ego, it was a sacrifice, a soul-level agreement to descend into separation, so humanity could one day rise again. And rise again we must. That memory, it's in your blood, in your bones. It's the reason you've always felt like you don't quite fit into this modern world, because you weren't meant to. You are not a mistake. Your spiritual hunger, that constant ache inside you, isn't some random curiosity, it's a deep knowing, a remembrance. Lemuria wasn't just a myth, it was the blueprint of humanity before control took over. It was a civilization rooted in unity, not hierarchy, in compassion, not competition. The story of Lemuria challenges everything we've been taught about human evolution. What if we haven't evolved from ignorance into intelligence? What if the truth is that we've devolved, and Lemuria was the peak? It's a hard pill to swallow, because it challenges the very foundations of what we believe about ourselves and the world. But what if the fall of Lemuria wasn't a failure? What if it was just part of the journey, a journey that has now led us back to this moment in time, where we must decide, do we continue down the path of separation, or do we return to the unity that we once knew? The truth is buried deep inside you. You might not have the words for it yet, but it's there, and it's waiting to awaken. You've probably felt it before, that deep sense of longing for something more, something you can't quite name. Maybe it's when you're near water and you feel peace wash over you like the ocean is speaking to you in a forgotten language. Or perhaps it's when you're surrounded by nature and your skin buzzes with an energy that feels strangely familiar. Maybe, just maybe, it's when your intuition rises up, louder than logic, guiding you in a way that doesn't make sense. Yet you know it's right. These are not coincidences, they are fragments of a world you once walked with reverence. A world where humanity lived in balance with nature, with one another, and with the stars. Lemuria didn't just exist as a place, it existed as a way of being, and that way of being is encoded in you. You may not have been taught to recognize it, but the truth is, you've been carrying it inside you this whole time. It's not something you need to learn, it's something you need to remember. The gifts that you feel called to now, whether it's the healing energy in your hands, the connection you feel to crystals, or your inexplicable pull toward ancient wisdom, they're not new, they've always been within you, they're just waiting to rise to the surface. This is not about becoming something you're not, it's about reclaiming what you already are. It's about remembering that you are not separate from the earth, from the stars, or from the universe. You are part of something ancient and sacred. The more you awaken, the more that truth will emerge. And when it does, you'll begin to feel the power of Lemuria waking up inside you. And that power, it's not the kind of power the world has taught you to seek. It's not about money, status, or control. The true power lies in remembering who you truly are and aligning with that truth. The more you awaken to this inner truth, the more you'll realize the systems around you, built on fear and separation, don't hold the same weight anymore. You're not here to conform. You're here to remember, and ultimately to realign with the frequency of Lemuria that still pulses deep within your soul. The fall of Lemuria wasn't sudden, it wasn't a cataclysmic event, at least not at first. It was a slow spiritual unraveling that began long before it showed up in the physical world. For thousands of years, the Lemurians lived in unity, in deep connection with each other and the earth. They understood that separation was an illusion, that all life was interconnected. But as time passed, something shifted. The vibration of their collective consciousness began to lower. At first it was subtle, a growing curiosity for material things, a shift toward individuality over collective harmony. It felt innocent at first, even harmless, the kind of exploration that humanity tends to get caught up in. But these small shifts marked the beginning of the end, the beginning of forgetting. The intuitive gifts that once flowed so effortlessly began to fade. The telepathic connection with one another grew weaker. People who had once felt intrinsically connected to the earth now felt apart from it. The sacred balance that had defined Lemuria started to tilt, and then the energy grid that had held their world together began to weaken. Some Lemurians tried to anchor the light, to hold the frequency steady, but it wasn't enough. The frequency dropped too far. That's when Atlantis was born, not as a new civilization, but as a direct result of Lemuria's fall. The rise of Atlantis was a shift from heart to intellect, from unity to hierarchy, from inner knowing to external control. And once that energy took root, the land began to break apart. Earthquakes, floods, tectonic shifts, massive landmasses disappeared beneath the ocean. These weren't just random natural disasters. They were the physical manifestation of the collapse of a spiritual order, as above so below. The fall of Lemuria wasn't just about the land sinking, it was a reflection of what was happening within the collective soul of humanity. Some Lemurians ascended, moving into higher dimensions, carrying with them the wisdom and knowledge of their world. Others migrated, spreading their teachings to places like India, Peru, Egypt, and Hawaii, where traces of their culture still echo in sacred temples, ancient symbols, and oral traditions. But many fell with the land. Their memories, their wisdom, buried not just by water, but by time, trauma, and forgetting. This wasn't punishment, it was a choice, a collective karmic agreement made long ago, at the dawn of humanity's journey, to experience separation, to explore polarity, to fall into the illusion of disconnection, so that one day we could rise again. The fall of Lemuria wasn't the end, it was part of the cycle. The deeper truth most spiritual seekers come to realize is that this fall was never a failure. It was part of our path, part of the journey of remembering. But that doesn't mean the scars don't remain. The pain, the grief, the sense of disconnection, It lives on in our very nervous system. The longing for something more. That ache you feel when you look at the world and know that something's missing. It's not a flaw, it's the echo of Lemuria. That grief you sometimes carry, the one that never fully goes away, no matter how hard you try to ignore it. That's Lemuria's echo too. It's the memory of a time when life made sense, when love wasn't something you had to strive for. It was the very air you breathed, a time when people didn't have to earn their worth, because they simply were. It's a grief that comes with the realization that something profound was lost, not just physically but spiritually, and yet even in this deep ache, there's a knowing that something inside you, something ancient and sacred, is stirring. This is why so many of us are waking up now, why so many are beginning to feel this deep, unexplainable call to remember. It's not a coincidence that we're waking up now. It's not a random event, it's the time. The timing is right. We are at a threshold once again. Just as Lemuria stood at the edge of transformation, so do we. But this time we have a choice. We are not here just to watch the collapse. We are here to bring it back, not in the physical sense, not as geography, but as a frequency, not as history but as destiny. You might feel as though this whole idea of Lemuria sounds impossible. After all, the mainstream narrative has painted humanity as flawed, divided, and materialistic. We've been told that we are small, that our origins began in dirt and ended in decay. But what if that's the lie? What if we're not just products of this earth? What if we were sent here? Esoteric teachings have long spoken of Lemuria as a civilization seeded by beings from distant star systems, the Pleiades, Sirius, Lyran, and others operating on frequencies far beyond our current understanding. These beings weren't conquerors. They didn't come to dominate. They came to anchor light, to bring energy to a planet in desperate need of it. They didn't come in spaceships. They spoke through dreams, telepathy, and crystalline downloads. Their connection to the earth was so seamless that it's nearly impossible for us to understand it now. While we think in words, they thought in resonance. They moved by knowing. They trusted their connection to the cosmos in ways we can only imagine. This is why so many people today feel an inexplicable pull toward the Pleiades, or Sirius, even without ever studying. Why star seeds, those who carry the energetic imprint of these ancient systems, often feel alien in this world. It's not a delusion, it's the memory of origin breaking through the veil. We are not from here, at least, not in the way we've been taught. Our essence, our true selves began in the stars. The idea that life exists elsewhere is not radical. What's radical is the suggestion that these star systems didn't just visit Earth. They are our family. They came long before telescopes pointed at the sky, and they embedded their frequencies into our very DNA. Lemuria was never about monuments or empires. It was about frequency, soul assignment, and planetary service. The Lemurians weren't just spiritual people. They were spiritual energy in human form. Their mission was to co-create with the earth, to seed a reality where love wasn't just an emotion, but a foundation. They anchored that template through their way of life, their ceremonies, their deep connection to the grid of the planet. And that grid is still here. It wasn't destroyed when the land sank. It's dormant, encoded, waiting for those with the memory to reactivate it. This is why so many of us are waking up now. We feel the call to heal, to remember, to return, not to a physical place, but to a frequency that still pulses beneath the surface of the modern world. The timing is not accidental. We are living in the echo of Lemuria's return. The souls who once walked those lands are waking up inside modern bodies, with modern distractions, but ancient codes still pulsing in their field. You are not a mistake. Your spiritual hunger is not just curiosity. It's a recall, a return to the truth that was buried. This is not science fiction. This is soul fiction, truth that science hasn't caught up to yet. And as we lean into our knowing, the illusions of this world begin to crack. You're not here to be saved. You're here to remember that you came to help save something sacred, something that began long before this lifetime and stretches far beyond it. Lemuria didn't fall in a single day. It wasn't a cataclysmic explosion or an abrupt collapse. It was a gradual spiritual unraveling, a slow descent into disconnection that began deep within the consciousness of its people long before it manifested in the physical world. For thousands of years, the Lemurians lived in a state of unity consciousness. They understood that all life was interconnected, that separation was an illusion, But as time passed, subtle shifts began to occur, a growing attraction to the material world, a desire for individuality over collective harmony, a fascination with the intellect over intuition. At first, these shifts seemed innocent enough, but they marked the beginning of the end. The intuitive gifts that had once flowed effortlessly began to fade. The telepathic communication that had once been so natural became harder to maintain. People who had once felt intrinsically connected to the earth started to feel apart from it. The sacred balance that had defined Lemurian life began to tilt. As the vibration of Lemuria dropped, so too did the energy grid that held the land together. Some Lemurians clung to the light, anchoring the frequency in an attempt to prevent the collapse. Others resonated with denser, ego-driven energies that would eventually give rise to the civilization of Atlantis. But it was too late. The frequency had already begun to shift, and the collapse was inevitable. The Earth itself began to mirror the fall of human consciousness. Earthquakes, floods, massive shifts in the tectonic plates. These weren't random disasters. They were the physical manifestations of the deeper spiritual imbalance that had taken root in the hearts of the Lemurians. The fall of Lemuria wasn't just a geographical event, it was a spiritual one. Some Lemurians ascended before the destruction, moving into higher dimensions with their wisdom and knowledge intact. Others migrated to different parts of the world, India, Egypt, Peru, Hawaii, carrying the fragments of Lemurian teachings with them. But many of the Lemurians fell with the land, their memory buried not just beneath the ocean, but beneath time, trauma, and forgetting.
But even though their physical bodies may have disappeared, the soul memory of Lemuria lives on. It lives on. It lives on in the land, in the sacred sites scattered across the globe that continue to radiate power. It lives on in the symbols, the temples, and the rituals that have survived through the ages. And most importantly, it lives on in you, in your soul, in your cellular memory, in the ancient codes that still pulse beneath your surface. You may not remember it consciously, you may not even fully understand it, but there's a part of you that knows you are connected to something ancient, something sacred. The systems around you may try to tell you that this connection is irrelevant, that your intuition is unreliable, that your longing for something more is just a passing phase. But the truth is, your soul is calling you to remember. You don't need to look for Lemuria on a map. It's not lost in time. It's inside you. Every time you feel that ache in your chest, that longing for connection, that deep resonance with nature, that's Lemuria calling you home. It's not a story. It's not a fantasy. It's a truth buried deep within you, waiting to be reawakened. You are not lost. You are remembering. And the more you remember, the more you'll realize that you are not separate from the earth, from the stars, or from the ancient consciousness that once thrived in harmony with all that is. You are Lemuria, carrying the memory of that lost world inside you. And as you begin to remember, the world around you will start to shift. You'll notice it in the small moments, when you walk barefoot on the earth and feel a deeper connection to the land, when you stand by the water and feel as though the ocean is speaking to you, its rhythm echoing a truth you can't fully articulate, when your heart opens wide in empathy, and you sense the collective suffering of a world that has forgotten its true nature. These aren't just coincidences, these are fragments of the Lemurian blueprint awakening within you. You've probably felt it before, that deep unshakable knowing that there's more to life than what meets the eye. Maybe you've had dreams that felt more like memories, vivid, soul-stirring visions of glowing cities beneath the sea, of ancient songs moving through your body, of forgotten rituals that awakened something within you. Perhaps you've always been drawn to crystals, not knowing why. Or maybe you feel an inexplicable pull to healing, even though you've never been formally trained. These aren't random urges, they are parts of you coming back online, parts of your Lemurian self remembering its purpose. You're not becoming something new, you're reclaiming something ancient, something sacred. You're reconnecting to the wisdom and power that was never truly lost, only buried beneath layers of time, separation and forgetfulness. And the more you remember, the more the world around you will begin to reflect that You'll notice the rising energy in certain places, the way sacred sites around the world seem to vibrate with something you can't quite explain. You'll feel it in the synchronicities that pile up in your life,
the signs that point you towards something deeper. You may not have the words for it yet, but your soul is speaking to you. The more you listen, the more you will feel the frequencies of Lemuria awakening within you. It's not a fantasy or a nostalgic dream. It's the reactivation of a powerful ancient energy, and it's happening right now in real time. The system we live in was designed to keep you from remembering. It was built on the foundation of fear, separation and control, and the knowledge of Lemuria, the truth of who we really are, threatens that structure. Because the power of Lemuria doesn't lie in monuments or empires. It's not about building wealth or controlling the mass. True power lies in resonance, in alignment with the earth, in living with love as a foundation instead of dominance. If you truly remembered who you are, if you knew the depths of your connection to the earth and the cosmos, if you could access the energy of Lemuria that still pulses within you, the system that profits from your confusion, fear and disconnection would crumble. The illusions we've been taught to believe would begin to crack, because you would no longer play by their rules. Lemuria was never about conquering or controlling. It was about being so aligned with the earth, with the stars and with the deep wisdom of the soul, that all things came into harmony. The Lemurians were not interested in controlling the world around them. They were here to co-create with it. Their technology didn't destroy, it healed. Their way of life didn't separate, it unified. What if we could return to that? What if we could remember that the earth is not a resource to exploit, but a living, conscious being, with whom we are deeply connected? What if we could reconnect to that sense of unity that once bound us together as a species, when love wasn't a struggle but a natural state of being? That's what Lemuria offers us, not just a glimpse into the past, but a potential for the future. The world you live in doesn't have to be what it is now, this world of competition, of disconnection, of fear-driven choices. It's not the world you were meant to inhabit. You were meant for something much more profound, much more connected. Lemuria didn't just disappear. Its frequency didn't vanish with the land. It's here, beneath the surface, waiting to be reawakened. The people who once lived there are not gone. They are within you. You are them, and they are you. The more you remember, the more you begin to see the cracks in the illusion. You'll notice the ways in which society tries to keep you in a state of confusion, in a state of fear, in a state of separation. But every time you choose love over fear, every time you ground yourself in the earth, every time you trust your intuition over external noise, you are reactivating the Lemurian frequency within you. You are reconnecting to that ancient energy. You are a living embodiment of Lemuria. You are the bridge, the connection between what was and what is to come. Every choice you make, every moment you live in alignment with your true self, helps to bring Lemuria back, not as a distant memory, but as a living, breathing force in the present. And you don't need anyone's permission to do this. You don't need a certificate, a degree, or anyone's validation. You just need to remember. Remember who you are. Remember what you've always known. The frequencies are rising again, and you are part of that rising. You are the movement. Every time you choose peace over panic, truth over performance, love over fear, you are embodying Lemuria. You are part of the awakening. As the frequency of Lemuria rises once again, it's becoming more and more evident in the world around. The awakening is happening, but it's not happening in the way we've been taught to expect. It's not some grand external event, but rather a quiet internal shift. It's in the subtle moments of connection, when you pause to listen to your heart, when you make choices that resonate with your soul, when you allow your intuition to guide you rather than relying solely on logic and reason. This is the essence of Lemuria, the return of harmony, the return of unity consciousness. It's not about waiting for someone to save us or for the world to change overnight. It's about each of us doing our part, to reawaken to the truth that lies deep within us. The Lemurian frequency is not something that will be given to you from the outside. It's already within you. It always has been. The key is to remember, to unlock it.
When you reconnect with the earth, with nature, with the elements, you begin to tap into that frequency. Every time you walk barefoot on the earth, every time you pause to listen to the wind or feel the water, you're activating a deeper memory inside of you. These are not just simple actions, they are rituals of remembrance. You are not merely grounding yourself physically, you are grounding yourself spiritually, reconnecting to the Lemurian way of life. And it's not just about the earth. Lemuria was deeply connected to the stars, to the cosmos.
The Lemurians didn't look up at the stars as something distant or unreachable. To them, the stars were home. The beings from distant star systems seeded Lemuria with wisdom, and they remain connected to this energy. You may feel drawn to certain constellations like the Pleiades or Sirius, without understanding why. That's because your soul remembers where you come from. We are not just physical beings, we are energetic beings, and our energy carries the imprint of our cosmic origin. The more you remember your connection to the stars, the more you will realize that the same energy that flowed through the Lemurians flows through you. You are a part of that cosmic lineage, and the Lemurian energy is within you, waiting to be reactivated. But there's a reason why this memory has been suppressed. The powers that be, the systems built on separation, fear, and control, have worked hard to bury this truth. Because if you remembered who you truly are, if you knew the power you carry inside of you, they couldn't control you. They couldn't keep you in a state of confusion, disconnection, and fear. That's why the story of Lemuria has been dismissed as myth, as fantasy. They didn't want you to realize that you come from a civilization that didn't rely on force or domination to exist. They didn't want you to remember that true power comes from knowing who you are, not from accumulating wealth or manipulating others, but from living in alignment with the earth, the cosmos, and your own soul. This is why the suppression of Lemuria's memory is so dangerous. Because when enough of us remember, when we all reconnect to that frequency, the entire structure of society as we know it will begin to collapse. The illusion will shatter. We will realize that we don't need rulers or followers. We don't need systems built on fear. We don't need to consume and destroy. We just need to be as the Lemurians once were. And the more we awaken to this truth, the more we will realize that the path to healing, to true connection, to spiritual growth, it's all inside of us. The tools, the wisdom, the energy, it's all there. You may feel it rising in you now. The remembrance, the awareness that something ancient, something sacred is stirring. You may feel drawn to certain practices, certain symbols, certain places, because they are keys to unlocking this ancient knowledge within you. You're not lost. You're remembering. And in that remembering, you're not alone. There are thousands, millions of others who are waking up to this truth. We are all part of the same collective awakening, and together we can bring this frequency back. The world we live in is shifting. The frequency of Lemuria is rising again, and the more we align ourselves with it, the more we'll begin to see the changes unfold. The earth is calling us back into balance, and the more we tune into that call, the more we'll see the truth behind the illusion. This isn't about escaping the world we live in, it's about transforming it. It's about awakening to the truth of who we are, reconnecting to the earth, and remembering the wisdom that has been passed down through the ages. The more you embody this Lemurian frequency, through your actions, your thoughts, your energy, the more you'll feel the power of this ancient civilization awakening within you. And as you align with this energy, you'll notice the world around you changing. The systems that have kept us in fear and separation will begin to lose their power over us. We will no longer be controlled by fear, greed, or the need for external validation. Instead, we will live in harmony, in alignment with the earth, with each other, and with the cosmos. You are part of this awakening. You are part of the shift. And every step you take to reconnect to the Lemurian frequency, every choice you make to live in alignment with your soul, is a step toward bringing this energy back into the world. The more you remember, the more others will remember, and together we can create a new world, one rooted in unity, love, and connection. The remembrance is happening now, and it's happening through you. Every time you make a choice to align with your truth, every time you trust your intuition, every time you ground yourself in the earth, you are embodying the Lemurian frequency. This isn't about waiting for something to happen. It's about realizing that it's already happening. The rise of energy healing, the growing interest in crystals, light language, and intuitive guidance, these aren't just trends. They are signs of the Lemurian frequency coming back online. And you are a part of it. You are the bridge between what was and what is yet to come. You don't need to search for Lemuria in ancient texts or lost civilizations. You carry it within you. It's not a place to visit. It's a way of being to embody. And as you step into that power, as you remember who you are, you'll find that the world around you begins to shift. The veil is lifting. The illusion is cracking. And the truth of who you are, the truth of Lemuria is rising again. You don't need permission. You don't need to wait for the right moment. The time is now. The world needs you to remember. Lemuria needs you to remember. And as you do, you'll find that the frequency of Lemuria isn't some far-off dream. It's the very pulse of your being, calling you to awaken, to reconnect, and to bring the world back into balance.